The night was unusually quiet, but inside a modest suburban home, 18-year-old Emma sat on her bed clutching a worn photograph, her heart heavy with questions she couldn't silence anymore. The picture showed her as a newborn wrapped in a pink blanket, yet something about it had always felt off, like a secret hidden behind the smiles of the adults standing beside her. For years, Emma sensed she never truly belonged to the family that raised her. She loved them, yes, but their coldness, their obsession with wealth, and the absence of genuine affection left a hole in her soul. That night, after overhearing a heated conversation between her parents about the deal and a child that wasn't meant for them, Emma's world tilted. Curiosity burned into desperation, and she sneaked into the attic, rifling through old boxes until she discovered a faded birth certificate tucked inside a dusty envelope. Her eyes widened as she noticed her mother's name didn't match. Panic surged through her veins, but so did determination. She had to know the truth. With trembling hands, Emma typed her birth hospital's name into her laptop and scrolled endlessly until she found an old local newspaper clipping, one that reported a nurse accused of tampering with birth records for money. Her chest tightened as the possibility sank in, she might have been switched at birth. Tears welled in her eyes, not because of anger, but because the faint hope she might still belong somewhere, a place where love wasn't bought or traded, suddenly flickered alive within her. Little did she know, this discovery would change not just her life, but the lives of two families forever. Emma couldn't sleep that night, her mind replaying the fragment of truth she had unearthed. The next morning, with courage outweighing her fear, she visited the local hospital archives. Her hands shook as she requested access to records from the year of her birth, hoping for answers yet terrified of what she might find. The clerk returned with a stack of fragile papers, and Emma's eyes darted through them until she froze. There it was, her name paired with a different last name, and beneath it, a note that seemed hastily altered in faded ink. Her heart pounded louder with every second as she compared it to another baby's record born on the same day, one that matched the surname of the wealthy family she knew from town. The realization struck like lightning, she was never meant to live the life she had, nor were they meant to raise her. But instead of anger, a strange sadness filled her chest. What had become of the girl who should have been in her place? Did she live a better life, wrapped in riches, or did she too suffer in a home where love was conditional? Emma felt the weight of stolen destinies pressing against her soul. Determined to uncover more, she followed the other child's trail, finding social media photos of a young woman named Lily, smiling confidently in designer clothes, seemingly adored by her glamorous parents. Emma's throat tightened as she whispered to herself, "That could have been me." Yet what stirred her most wasn't jealousy, it was a longing for connection, for answers that only Lily could provide. Emma resolved then and there to confront the truth, even if it shattered everything she thought she knew. Because sometimes, freedom isn't about wealth or status, but about finally uncovering who you truly are. 2 days later, Emma found herself standing outside a grand estate, its towering gates and manicured gardens a sharp contrast to her modest upbringing. Her palms were sweaty, her heart racing as she rehearsed what she might say if Lily or her parents confronted her. Just as she hesitated to press the intercom, a sleek car pulled into the driveway, and out stepped Lily, the girl who might have been her reflection in another life. Their eyes met for the first time, and Emma felt a strange jolt, as though some invisible thread had always bound them together. Gathering courage, she introduced herself, stumbling over the words before blurting, "I think we were switched at birth." Lily froze, disbelief flashing across her face before turning into guarded suspicion. Yet something in Emma's trembling voice softened her. She invited Emma inside, and for hours, they pored over the fragile hospital records Emma had brought. With every word, Lily's confident mask cracked, replaced by wide-eyed vulnerability. She admitted she had always felt suffocated by her family's obsession with appearances, that behind the smiles and expensive gifts, she often felt unseen. Emma listened, stunned, because despite their different worlds, their loneliness was the same. As the truth settled between them, both girls cried, not out of anger but from the aching realization that their lives had been manipulated by greed long before they could choose for themselves. For the first time, Emma didn't feel alone. She had found someone who understood her pain, someone whose story was entwined with hers from the very beginning. And as their tears turned into hesitant smiles, a fragile bond began to form, one built not on blood alone, but on shared longing for love, truth, and freedom. The days that followed were a blur of emotions as Emma and Lily secretly met to piece together the missing fragments of their lives. Each encounter revealed striking similarities, their shared love for art, the same way they hummed when nervous, even the identical birthmark on their wrists. It was undeniable, fate had indeed tied them together. Yet with every discovery came heavier questions: should they confront their parents? Would the truth heal wounds or tear families apart forever? Lily wrestled with the thought of betraying the only family she'd ever known, no matter how suffocating their love had been. Emma, meanwhile, feared retaliation from her own parents, who had always clung tightly to wealth and status. One evening, as they sat in a quiet cafe, Emma spoke through tears: "Maybe this wasn't just about us. Maybe it's about showing them what love is supposed to be." Lily reached across the table, squeezing her hand, and whispered, "Then we'll do it together." With newfound resolve, they planned a dinner where both families would meet. The night arrived with tension so thick it felt suffocating. Emma's parents arrived with polished smiles hiding unease, while Lily's parents exuded grace and suspicion. At first, the conversation was polite, strained, filled with forced laughter. But then Emma bravely laid the hospital records on the table. Silence fell like a storm, broken only by Lily's trembling voice saying, "We know the truth." Eyes widened, jaws tightened, and the carefully crafted facades of wealth and pride began to crumble. In that fragile moment, the girls realized this wasn't just a confrontation, it was the beginning of a reckoning that would test love, forgiveness, and humanity itself. The silence that followed was unbearable, as though the weight of years pressed down on every soul at the table. Emma's father was the first to speak, his voice trembling as he confessed, "It was me. I made the deal. We were drowning in debt, and someone offered us a way out. I never thought it would haunt us like this." His words sliced through the air, leaving Emma's mother in stunned tears. Lily's mother gasped, clutching her chest, while her father's face hardened with rage and heartbreak. For a moment, Emma felt fury rising within her, but then she looked at Lily, whose own tears glistened under the light. It wasn't just about betrayal, it was about two children who had been robbed of innocence, two lives twisted by choices they never made. Emma stood, her voice shaking but steady enough to pierce the silence. "You may have stolen our beginnings, but you don't get to steal who we become. We're not your bargaining chips. We're human beings who deserve love, not lies." Lily rose beside her, gripping her hand. What happened next was unexpected. Lily's mother crossed the table and pulled both girls into her arms, sobbing, "I don't care how it started, you are my daughters now. Both of you." The room shifted. Pride melted into shame, and greed gave way to tears. Even Emma's father, broken by guilt, fell to his knees begging for forgiveness he knew he might never deserve. In that moment, the girls realized compassion could build a bridge stronger than anger. They weren't defined by wealth, deception, or even blood, they were defined by the love they chose to create, right here, right now. And that choice could change everything. Weeks later, the wounds of truth still ached, but something beautiful had begun to grow from the pain. Both families, once worlds apart, now gathered together in humble settings where laughter replaced the silence that had once divided them. Emma and Lily, no longer strangers, embraced their bond as sisters, choosing to build a future shaped by compassion rather than resentment. Emma's father, though scarred by guilt, worked tirelessly to make amends, volunteering at charities to repay the debt of humanity he owed. Lily's parents, shaken by their obsession with appearances, learned to value simple joys, cooking together, sharing stories, and appreciating the authenticity their wealth had once blinded them to. The girls often joked that they got the best of both worlds, but deep down, they knew the greatest gift wasn't money or status, it was love freely given and deeply felt. One evening, as the families sat around a modest dinner table, Lily raised her glass and said, "We can't rewrite the past, but we can write the future together." Emma smiled, her heart lighter than it had ever been, and added, because family isn't defined by birth or wealth, it's defined by the love we choose. Tears shimmered in every eye, but they weren't tears of sorrow anymore. They were tears of healing, of hope, of second chances. The shocking truth that once threatened to tear lives apart had instead become the foundation for something far greater, a family reborn, built not on lies, but on forgiveness and grace. And as Emma looked around the table, she finally felt the one thing she had been searching for all her life: home.